What's up guys, it's Minx. In today's video we're going to add textures to the player. I went ahead and already did one and added some math and it's probably messed up, but it should work in theory. We'll see. I haven't actually done anything with it. So to figure out which one I wanted to use, I went into the, not that, back up. I went into here and again, I'm just going to use the file thing instead of the zip file to make it easier. Went to the base pack and went to player and you can pick any one of the three. They all have the same like texture mapping, um, or not texture mapping, sprite sheet design. So pick whichever one you prefer. I just did the first one for now. We'll probably add like a character selector later. I think I talked about that already. I'm curious what this is. Say, okay, it's its own like. Might load that separately. These are all the different ones. And we have it in, it's part of this. So what I did was I opened it up. I did the math to figure out what each frame should be, like how tall and wide it should be, which frames I want to use. These three, or these 1, 2, 3, 5 are empty. If we look at it, the way our thing works is it goes in, it says, all right, here, 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 and then here, 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 here. It doesn't discriminate as long as it's within the image. And we don't have any checks for like saying, hey, is this pixel empty? Is that pixel empty? We could do that. We could ignore it. We could say, hey, don't add that to our list, you stupid shit. So we could ignore that if we wanted to. But otherwise, we're just gonna have the empty frames, and that's fine. It's not storing a lot of memory. If we have to, like, it's like, oh, we're taking up too much RAM, we can start doing stuff like that. But it's so minor, it's like whatever. Um, so the next thing I did was it's like, hey, how many do we have wide, or how many do I have tall? And then I picked out the frames I wanted to use for idle, walking, jumping, and falling. So we're gonna have all of those added. Um, the other thing I did, because I fixed the issue with our play or wall texture count being wrong, so I went into asset manager. I'm like, why would it be wrong? And I realized that we're not, for some reason, it's like doing something weird here with the math. So when I was dividing by width and dividing by height, I was subtracting for one to account for a zero index. However, since we're doing a less than instead of a less than or equal to, we're already accounting for a zero index, so we don't need to subtract one. And that was the issue. Now if you get rid of that and then you count them, it does give us the correct amount. The only downside is now we have to go back and fix our assignments here. So for example, if we go in and say shoot 199 132, it's not 199 132 anymore. It is, let's see here, so we go back to the request pack to request tiles. Oh, it's not this one. This one's fine. It is in base pack, maybe? Is in tiles. Yes, it was in the base tile sheet. So 99 is theoretically this one. This is 98. Yeah, because zero base, so 97, 98, 99. We keep going down. So we wanted like a box. We're gonna do a different box. We're gonna do 100, 101. We'll just do 101 here because it's easier to remember. So box would be 101. Oh no, 99. No, never mind. This is 98, 99. Yeah, never mind. That's correct. 100, 101. So we'll do 101. And then we're gonna go over to our wall, assign it 101 instead of 99. Okay. And then I don't think we need to do it anywhere else. I think, not button, excuse me. The game menu is where we create the buttons for this. I think we actually need to we just give it the 0, 1, 2 or whatever, 0, 1, 2, yeah. And that'll use the lookup. So we have to fix the lookup now for the other one, so we don't need game menus open, that's fine. We just need to go fix it for here. So whatever 132 is, it's supposed to be a sign. So where's the signs? Here they are. So 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 36. Gosh dang, 35. Oh shit, 37, excuse me. 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. We're expecting a 53 here, so 153. And we'll just paste this over into the thing here. And that should do it. So let me test it out here, see if it's updated. There may be another problem that we run into. Oh, sign is there. It seems to be cut off. Box is working. Box also seems to be cut. So I did notice some issues. So going back, I think I discussed this a little bit before, but didn't really talk too much about it. These are kind of fucked up. They got little spaces in between them a lot of the time. So it's really hard to do that. And I was trying out the math for like using our what do you call it, our padding, and it wasn't working. I don't know if it's because they just have so little padding that's irrelevant, but I think I added 1 pixel of padding. Oh, when I did this test, I have 1 pixel assigned right now, 1 or 2. I have 1 pixel of padding assigned right now. I'm gonna get rid of it and just want to test. And I apologize for the format of this video. This is kind of in like real time, just like I'm doing stuff here. So doing this without padding, we get some goofy shit here above it. And then if we go back to like the 72 that it's that we originally used, maybe it'll just work without padding in 72. I mean, it kind of works. Seems to work relatively okay. Not a big fan of how it looks. I'll see if we can. I'll have to look more into fixing it. I mean, is that how we expect it to look? No, that is what it's supposed to look like. Never mind. I guess it's just 72 by 72. I wanted to do 71 with the little thing to get rid of the space. I have to redo the math. It didn't work. So what I have right now, I've removed some of it. So like now we're not like multiplying x padding by the index. And the reason for that is it kept overflowing and it kept saying we're out of the width of the image, and I don't know why. So I'll have to figure that out. Anyway, that's just some changes I made and got it working. So just really to fix the issue from before is get rid of the -1 from these for loops inside the little bitmap from zip. And then the only other thing I did was add our player bitmap loading. So now we've got that. And then I just denoted a couple things. We'll probably have to come back here later and fix this when we actually apply it to the player. So let's go ahead and get things applied to the player. What do we have to do? So it's fairly similar to Placeable. And right now we're just going to give it a standard thing. I want to do a level selector down the road. So if we look, we've got assets, base pack, player. We've got like 3 different players to choose from. So I might be able to choose one and then, let the player pick or do like a, so I may do that down the line. Until then, we want to do what Placeable does. So we need their visual to be moved with the player because the player does move. So we need to note that. And we also need to select the textures based on this. So the player is actually going to store the textures that it wants in its own setup. So let's go ahead and do a new region here because I want this region to be separate. Region texture vars, and we'll just end the region. So we're gonna do a few things. So I want idle texture map, idle textures, and I'm just gonna do these as lists. I think that's fine. List of image idle frames. We'll do a list of image running frames, and then list of image for we'll say jump frames. So idle textures, running textures, and then jumping/falling textures. that capitalized. Jumping, jumping slash falling textures. So now we separated these. So what I want to do here is give us an index. We'll just say index of anim frame. And we'll just use one index, and we can do a little trickery to determine, it's like, hey, if we're on idle frames and we have 4 idle frames, but we only have 3 running frames, but we're at the 4th index, we can't pick the 4th index from running frames, so we gotta, drop it. So that's not too hard to do. So we'll do int anim index, and we'll just equal it to 0 by default. That's fine. So okay, so we've got our texture vars here. The first thing we want to do is, I guess, assign our text or load up our textures. So let's load these up on construct. Ooh. We don't want to worry about this on the other thing. Only want to worry about this on the actual player. Careful about that. Because if the designer is trying to do that, it's going to that. So what we want to do is I'm going to make it a public virtual void load textures. Public virtual void load textures. And what we'll do is we'll call this here. So where do we set up our visual? So we set up our visual here. So we'll say load text load textures. And then what we'll do is we'll come down to our camera, our designer player, excuse me. Say public override void load textures, and we're just gonna literally get rid of base.load textures. Don't load textures. It's probably just one of those things where it's like really small amount of optimization that's unnecessary since we don't draw anything anyway. But I don't feel like it's necessary to bother with that stuff. So fine. Okay, so we're gonna initialize idle frame. So idle frames equals new list, and we'll just do it like that. We're gonna do all 3 of these like this. So similar to our other one, or one of the main window. Then jump frames, idle frames, running frames, and jump frames. Where am I going? Tools, list image. There we go. Okay. So now we need to pick off the frames that we need. So what we can say is, and I hate doing it like this to be honest, but we're gonna, it's whatever. For now, this game player textures, and then I'll just do that. And for idle frames, if I remember correctly, well, I'm not gonna. Idle frames are 0, 3, 10. 0, 3, 10. You can use whatever you want for this. These are just the ones that I wanted to use. They probably won't even be that good, to be honest. They'll just be whatever. Just wanted something. We'll do the same thing for running frames, but we're just gonna change the numbers. I think it is slightly different. Well, I know it's different, but 0, 3, 10, 1, 4, 7. 1, 4, 7. Okay, and then for the jump frames, I believe there's only 2 of them, and it is like it's 15 and 18. Okay, 15, 18. Jump ball. I want to denote these here specifically because we're doing it this way. And we could change this later, probably to, I don't know. Since they have the running set up separately, we might steal that and like, well, not steal it, but like use that separately. But for now, this is fine. Because like, there's no real. So we're just loading it into like a generic thing uh, for the game window, like for the player, instead of like loading these in specifically where they should go right away. I don't think it's useful because now we're loading them to memory and we're just assigning them a different spot. So this should be fine. So we load the textures. Um, so now we have different frames to use. And honestly, we're probably gonna do one more void here. Oh, not yeah. So public void determine texture. So this is going to essentially be what finally sets our texture. So um, what we do, what I want to do is say, so if we go to like placeable, we're creating or we're assigning a static texture. Wonder if we could reassign the texture brush. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to start off by saying, leave that alone for now. We won't do anything with it. When we say this.visual equals new solid brush, we're going to say equals new texture brush. And instead of saying color.white, we're going to say this.idleFrames 0. We're just going to spawn in on 0. That's fine. That'll work for us. Okay. So when we spawn in like that, the only other thing we need to do is similar to the placeable, is we need to determine the amount of here we go. Reset, transform, translate, and scale. We need these three things. I'm going to copy these over to the player. And since it is it's visual instead of my visual, so we're going to have to do something like that, but otherwise it's fine. Where's the draw called? Do I even have, I know I have draw in here. Where's it? Why is everything? I got too many things going on. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. We're just going to change this to visual. Visual's fine still. And we're going to have to change visual to a texture brush, I think, because it knows it's a brush, but that is, I believe it's not an abstract class, but it's a class that we expect to be inheriting from with different things. So we're gonna have to change that, and that may cause issues. Let's see. Because now that works here, but if I'm not mistaken, oh, you don't know, we don't draw the player here, so that's fine. Oh, okay. So using that with the texture brush. So now with the texture brush, going back to draw, it takes it, so it resets the transform, it does it. So theoretically, we should have a player that loads in as an alien. Theoretically, could be wrong. Could be missing something. But I think we've got to do a fourth one. Okay, it's fucked up, but we got an alien. I want to see what's going on. I need to load into a level that I can actually like land on something. I think the third one's good. Okay, that's a problem. What the fuck's going on with that? 'Cause I don't have this issue with other things. It may have something to do with the way the movement's calculated. It's a little different than other things because, let's see, let's go back to the game. Actually, no, we don't need to. Let's go back to, so let's cut these out of this right after. That's going to cause issues, I bet. I don't know. Let's see. Go to update. And after this dot position has added the speed, we're going to fix this. Let's try that. Oh, Okay, so we'll have to fix that for the designer. I thought we were gonna have to fix something for the designer, but okay, we're still getting that same issue. That's not good. It's not good at all. It's because we're using a different type of setup for this. That's concerning. So let me just double check here. Oh, update. So it doesn't matter if we put an update, so we can get rid of this. Just want to put it right before raw. Does this take any parameters? Uh, I feel like something's wrong. It's delayed. Bugs me. Let's try something. Transform. Some new transform. It's funny how I can reference that, but not actually. What? Try to use system.windows. Not cryptography. We go to placeable. Maybe I didn't stop my visual. Transform equals new transform. This returns a matrix texture box. Oh, it's a matrix, not a transform. Excuse me. That's the issue. Matrix. And then if we do this, using system.draw.draw2D. Okay, let's try that. I hate doing that every single frame, but I don't know if I have a... I gotta stop hitting that button. I know it's not supposed to, or I know that's broken. No, we still get the same issue, and it's at the same amount. And I think it has something to do with the fact that we're drawing based on the speed. So maybe we need to... Are we going to be doing plus speed? Let's try. I mean, I could try it. I don't think that's a necessary, but shoot. Where's my draw? I'm in the designer. Excuse me. Plus this dot speed dot x plus this dot speed dot y. That's really it. That's wild. Okay, it's exaggerated. So if I subtract it, should fix it, hopefully. That fixed it. Wow. Okay. So that's what it was. Okay. Oh, I'm glad that worked. I kind of think I locked. Oh, nope, we're good. Okay. So yeah. So okay, that makes sense. So we can actually reset this back to dot reset transform. So what the issue was is it was calculating based on our position that frame, but we were drawing essentially because we draw based on the collider or the visual. Excuse me, no, the collider, and the collider is already doing this math. So theoretically, we could probably use this .collider.x and this .collider.y, but it is what it is. So that fixes it. So okay, so now we've got. I apologize that took so long. That's real time. This is what really goes through my mind. It's like, what the heck's going on there? That makes sense. Okay, so we've got a texture assigned. We know the texture is loading. The next thing I want to do is change it based on what's going on. So we got a few variables for move bears. Let's see if there's. We got friction, gravity. We got is jumping, and I'm pretty sure that's being set. Can jump is being used and set. Is falling is being set but not used, if I'm not mistaken. Two is yeah, value assigned to it is never read. Just check. Yeah, so we do use those things. So what we can do is say in determine texture. So the first thing I want to do every single frame is take anim index x plus plus. So we're just going to add 1 to it at the beginning of every single frame. That's the first thing we're going to do. Or we could do it at the end, I guess, start off on 0. So we'll do it at the end. And then the first thing we're going to say is we're going to determine which one we want to use. So what is going to take priority? Because if it's going to take priority, it's going to be the first thing we account for. So if is falling. So if is falling, and then if is jumping. Because even if we're moving left or right, I don't want to be like running animation in the air. I want to do a jump animation and a fall animation, and these take priority. Falling, I guess, technically takes priority over jumping, but we can only be doing one at a time. So excuse me. This dot visual equals the new. So I wouldn't use idle frames. I would equals jump frames. And falling is, I think it's 1, right? Textures. Fall is 1. Where'd it go? Here we go. So fall is 1, and then jump is 0. So actually, we should be able to see this in action if we call determine texture. So what it'll say is at the beginning, we want to do it at the beginning of draw because we need to set it before we do it. So this dot determine texture. Let's do that. Does it play? It's our new level. Do a third one. Okay, so we're kind of stuck on it, and it is kind of buggy. That's okay. We can fix that later. We jump. We got a jump animation and a fall animation. It's not very pretty right now. That's okay. We don't have it like switching back to idle. And the reason it's buggy is because we can see it's offset. It's like it's kind of having a little bit of artifacting on the side because it's so close. I think my math may have been a little bit off or something. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. But anyway, okay. So now we've got that set up. So jumping and falling textures are picked. And it's going to automatically update the texture every frame now, depending on what we set it to. So we just have to use our variables to set our texture. So if we do this, so we want to say return. Oh man. Do I really want to do this? Go to update, add anim. I'm going to say go to add anim. There we go. Okay. So this is stupid. I don't think I've ever actually used one of these before. But essentially what we're doing is skipping the rest of the code if something happens. So instead of doing like an if else, if else, if else, or whatever, or else if, else if, else if, we're just saying if we are falling, go to do this and then go to add anim. So jump to this piece of the code. This isn't something I normally would like to do. I usually avoid this, but the alternative in this case, because of how we're going to write this, is add an anim index plus plus um, to the thing here and then just return, which is stupid. So instead, we're just going to do this because we don't want it to just continue doing that. So next up is if speed, this dot speed dot x, oops, x is greater than negative, we'll say negative 1, or we have to split these up. Shoot. Oh no, it's just idle. So we'll do 0.3 maybe, or this dot speed dot x is less than 0.3. This dot visual equals new texture brush. This dot jump frames, and we're gonna be doing we're gonna be doing this based off of this dot anim index. So this is where it picks out a frame from jump frames, or not jump frames, excuse me, idle frames. So it picks out one of the frames from idle frames. Now, if we want to say if this dot anim index is greater than this dot idle frames dot count, then this dot anim index equals 1. So essentially, if it's greater than that, and this is kind of the hack I was talking about, if it's greater than the one that we need to set, then just set it to 1. I need to double check to see if list.count is a 0 index. C# is list.count 0 index. Count will start with 1, however the list has any items in it. Oh man. So if we have 4 items, the count is going to be 4. However, we want to pick the anim index, so we want to do greater than or equal to, because it's not 0 index. I hate when they use like different things for that, which it makes sense that the count would be a different index, or would be 1, or not 0 index, would be 1 index, but still. Okay. So we've got idle, so theoretically we should be able to do idle without breaking. Let's try it out. Wow. That's a little twitchy. We can change that up a little bit later, maybe add more idle frames or something, or I don't know, make it slower. But for now, he's just he's tweaking out, man. All right, let's let's do let's just set it equal to 0 for now. And we'll come down to that later. So, and then we'll say go to and then if this dot speed dot x is, we could just say else. So we can treat these if statements as separate. So we do this, this will help it a little bit, visualize it. If this is true, else. So if we're getting to that point and it's like, okay, that's true or that's not true, then we can copy this over. Actually copy all of these over. I don't think we need the go to for now, but we may need it in the future. Instead of doing idle frames, we're going to do running frames. And we're going to do running frames, and we're actually going to use anim index this time because I do want it to be animated. I was wanting the idle to be animated, but not like that, and so probably figure that out on my own. A new level, we'll do a third one. Okay, so we kind of set idle, then we don't see. Oh, hold on. We'll do an and here, not an or. So the reason it was failing is because even though it was greater than 0.3 or less than 0.3, the other one was still true. So I have to do an and instead of an or. That is my mistake. It makes sense until you like check for something where that you want one of those to be true. We actually probably could do an XOR as well to get the same answer, but okay. So we've got little goofy feet here that are kind of running around. It actually looks fairly good. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is that the texture is facing the wrong direction when we're going to the left. So what I want to do is, could we do an XOR here? So if this is true, but not if this is true, and if this is true, not if this is true. No, that wouldn't work. We want to do the and here. So else, we'll have to do an if here instead. So if this dot speed dot x, x is greater than or equal to 0.3. So this is going to the right. We can copy this and paste this here. Is less than or equal to negative 0.3. We have to figure out how to reverse the bitmap. C# how to flip bitmap. Let's see. Dot rotate or dot flip. Here we go. Rotate flip type dot rotate 180. Rotate none flip X, I think. We'll see if flip X's works. We may need to do flip Y. Why is this an issue? This returns a void? Oh, I see. Hold on. What we can do is say var a equals this. Oh, wait, hold on. No, var a equals this. Copy this whole thing, get rid of this. And then say a dot. And then pass in a. So we'll probably rename the variable. What we're doing is so what this is doing is this is going to call the function on it, and I didn't want to have that happen on this because I need to maintain it. I only want it flipped in this particular case. So what it's doing is saying, store a copy into A, rotate A, and use A instead. Or flip A, I guess. So let's see if that's what we need. I don't know if I want to flip the X or the Y, because technically we're flipping left or right, but that's not a horizontal flip technically. Nope, that works. Okay. Oh boy. Why is it doing that for both directions? Can I say equals dot copy? It's an exact copy of this image. I'm going to cast this to image. There we go. Just real-time testing, I guess. See, it's messing with the one image, I think. Oops, I hit the create button. I do that so much. There we go. That's not an issue. So now we look to the left and we look to the right. We still get some issues with like clipping when we're jumping and stuff. I have to figure out. I think it's because of that one animation. It's when we jump and when we fall, so it's both of those frames. But otherwise, we got left and we got right. And it looks like sometimes we go to the left, we got a little bit on that side. So I have to figure that out. I have to see if I can smooth that out a little bit more. It's kind of frustrating, to be honest, because when we have it with the UI, it's like, okay, I can deal with that. But when it's on our player texture, it's kind of goofy. But anyway, that's it for now. I know this video is kind of long for just a little bit of work, but I kind of want to do the freeform video because I thought it'd be a little bit more fun, especially for something like this where um, we're kind of learning as we go. So I apologize for not explaining everything as I'm doing stuff the way I normally would. I'm going back over what I just recently did to make that work the way it did. So originally we were assigning A to this dot running frames anim index. What it was doing is it was constantly rotate flipping, and in this case just flipping, that A, which was still referencing, it was essentially acting as a pointer almost to the running frame that we were calling. So what I did instead, because I knew that image has a clone, was I used the clone method on running frames, on that frame, to create a copy of it. That was just from something I had come across when trying to figure out what I need to do for something else, and then cast it over to an image because it returns an object, and we just cast it over to image because we know it's always going to be an image. And then we flipped that copy and sent that copy over to visual. So we're taking some extra steps to send it to the left. The alternative is to simply just load in a left copy of the image, which is just overkill. You can just flip the image via code and that should be fine. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And next video will probably be a bit more normalized, back to the usual scheduled programming. So thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.